Good morning, or should I say wakey wakey? Better yet, cockerel doodle doo. This is a special, and not only is it a special for what we're about to talk about, you're going to get back to back a weekend of me and the cough because we're doing this special and we'll have the Spurs review ready for you on Sunday. Ben, this is going to be a lot of fun. You ready for this very special cockerel doodle doo?
Absolutely. We're always looking to hear about new topics, and it's always going to be fun to talk about good things for once, and it's going to be fun for once.
So let's get ready to do this.
Tottenham on tour.
Okie dokie. So first of all, before we break and reveal what we're talking about, Ben, how are you, my man? How's everything?
Doing good. Bit tired. It's been a long couple of days, and we're going to have a very, very long Saturday afternoon as well with everything that's going on tomorrow. And it's just going to be fun. So, bit tired, but having great time. How are you, Brett?
I'm all good. I'm all good. And I know exactly what you've got tomorrow. We're going to talk about that at the end. Remind me, because there's a big thing for Ben's Coffee House. We're going to be promoting the shit out of your coffee house as he's part of us. We're part of him. And we're going to get Ben's Coffee House out there to the masses. But people are still wondering, why are we having a special today?
Yeah.
Well, I could have this special any day, any time, but today is about one man and one man only. My footballing god, my footballing hero, Paul Gazza Gascoigne. Because we're celebrating a special day today, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
And today, for people that might not know, and I'm sure a lot of people will know, 32 years ago today, the first ever FA Cup semi-final to be held at Wembley, which is now the norm.
Yeah.
We were drawn up against the mighty Arsenal. And within 5 minutes in, 32 years ago today, Barry Davies said, "Is Gascoigne going to have a crack?" He is, you know. Oh, I say, brilliant. That is schoolboy's own stuff. Oh, I bet even he can't believe it. Is there anything left from this man to surprise us? That is one of the finest free kicks that this ground has ever seen. Seaman got his hand, couldn't reach. Paul Gascoigne, the scorer, the greatest free kick at that ground. I mean, I can't believe, as I'm 43 years old now, 32 years ago. I mean, Ben, do you have any? I mean, I can't even remember. I can't remember how old you were. You even born?
No, I wasn't even born.
So do you know what? All I can tell you is this is the story. Obviously, that was when it was the FA Cup semi-final. It was on a Sunday, and it was the year before my bar mitzvah. So as you know, the year before your bar mitzvah, Jewish Sunday school, you are learning your parsha, you're learning your life. Yep.
A mitzvah test.
I am literally my Jewish Sunday school was my secondary school, which is across the road from me.
Yeah.
I ran home more than I think faster than I ever could have just to open the door. And as I ran, and I don't know how this happened, the symmetry of it, as I was running into the living room, Gazza was running to take that free kick. And it's a memory that will live for me. So obviously, Ben, we're going to talk about this free kick. Then we're going to go into the FA Cup in more detail. What do you remember the first time you saw that free kick or heard about that free kick?
It would be on a video cassette because we had a video library in my house in Chigwell, Cortland Drive, for anyone that knows that area well. Brian knows it well because he's got an aunt that lives in Chigwell. We lived in Cortland Drive. We had a massive video cassette library because DVDs weren't invented. Like DVDs weren't really a thing until 2004, really, maybe 2004. And there are two DVDs my dad had next door to each other. One of them was the semi-final, and the other one was the final between Tottenham and Nottingham Forest. So I've watched that final many a time with the original commentary. It's one I've watched quite a few times. I wouldn't say I'm fully versed in it. Again, if you don't live through it, you don't really remember. It's yeah, I've watched it, but it's not like I can remember exactly what I did the day we beat the Chelsea in the Carling Cup final, because that was my era. And again, that was the year. That was the year before my 2008. Yeah, it was the year before my bar mitzvah as well. So we're at the same time. But for
so
my
by that way, Ben, it means when your nephew is getting bar mitzvah and my 4 nephews are
we're
getting
gonna
bar mitzvah,
win.
we have the trophy laden seasons coming.
Yeah, but unlike you, Brian, my dad went to the Sunday school, which is Swezzers in Newbury Park. And my dad went to the rabbi and put 2 fingers up at him and said, "He's going to the final, mate. It's sod off." Sod off. There was no chance that was not happening. But I've watched that thing a few times. But it's when you live through something like that, it's ingrained in your cataracts. It's ingrained within your psyche. You will remember it, and it's something I will never truly understand. We've all had moments in my life, like the Lucas Moura hat trick against Ajax, which is possibly comparable because it's that similar sort. It's a semi-final, not a final. But it's never to beat the Arsenal in a semi-final at Wembley, in the first one at Wembley. You can't beat that, can you?
Well, you got to remember as well, Ben. They were running away with the league title. Then they were going for the double. They were running away with it, and you got to remember as well. You look at that free kick in that day and age. No one even attempted that. No one even attempted that. Not only did no one even attempt that, you had David Seaman in goal, who back then was literally at least in the top 3. At least, obviously, there wasn't back then the all the eyes and all the games you could see worldwide and especially Europe. So to take that free kick on, this was before Roberto Carlos started doing the long free kicks. This is before.
Well, the balls were too heavy. Even then, they were still too heavy to really hit a shot from that distance.
Yeah, and you look at it as well. People will remember, and we'll speak about this more when we do the running of that FA Cup. He had just come back from a hernia operation 12 days earlier, and we'll go into. It's not just that free kick that I remember with him, but that obviously is the reason we're doing this, and the reason that people are still talking to this day about that free kick. But now we're going to get into it. Now, the FA Cup. The 91 FA Cup run, and I've got a funny Gazza story along the way. Again, Ben, this is all before your time. So when we're talking about this is before what happened. So
for you've lived through it. For me, it's an echo. Yeah.
So do you know what? I've when you say a man has single-handedly won something for a club, obviously we know what happened in the final, and we will discuss that as well.
Big up, Paul Stewart.
This is the season where it was bankrupt. Spurs on the verge. Now, just to go through it, the first round or the third round as we entered, 1-0 against Blackpool. Paul Stewart actually scored the goal.
Big up, Paul Stewart.
But it was an assist by Paul Gascoigne. Just a 1-0. Wasn't the greatest spectacle. It was one of those banana skins you could have got, and we got through it. The next round, and this is where I've got my funny story, was a 4-2 win against Oxford in the FA Cup. Now, I think a lot of people that have seen me on YouTube and never hear me speak about Gazza will know this, but the morning of that game, Paul Gascoigne was at my synagogue.
Yeah, he was.
He was, so basically, Gazza's agent then at the time was a guy called Milstein, and it was his son's, Paul's, bar mitzvah. So Gazza came to the synagogue. You have never seen a synagogue so packed in your life. It was like 3 or 4 to a chair.
Yeah.
And the whole spectacle was in there. Even the rabbi got up to do his sermon. He goes, "Oh, it's so lovely to see so many people here today. But I know you're not here for me. You're here for one man. How about Gazza, you come up and do the sermon?" And he said it as a joke, but Paul Gazza got up. And he started what? And he's like, no, sit down. But then obviously he had to leave before the end of the service because he had his job to do.
Yeah.
That game, he assisted 2, scored 2, and the first of 2 was one of those which showed the skill of this man. I mean, there was funny enough, I don't know if people remember this or have seen it recently. Spurs were going backwards, sideways, backwards, sideways, and the fans were getting. And the commentator even said the fans are getting a bit restless because this attack isn't going anywhere. And then Gazza took the ball from probably just about 10 yards in from the halfway line, ran the pitch, 1-2, back of the net, bang. Then he scored another one. So that was through to the next round. The next round, 2-0 or 2-1 was it? I think it was 2-1 to 2-0. 2-1 or 2. I can't, bloody hell, this is bad for me. 2-0. Oh, I can't remember. 2-0 or 2. Who cares? We won. Gazza scored 2. The late, great John Watson was doing the commentary. Gazza scored a header. It was a horrible, horrible pitch at Fratton Park. Gazza scored a header as the cross came in. And Gascoigne, yes! Crowd, the Spurs army going absolutely mad. But the second goal, a massive kick from Torsvek, head tennis, Van der Vaart just hoofs it. Gazza on that pitch just takes on players, and John Watson just went, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Quarterfinals, Notts County 2-1. Gazza gave the ball away to make it 1-0 to Notts County. We equalised, and then right at the death, who pops up with a winner to take us to Wembley? Mr. Paul Gascoigne. And then we come to this semi-final, Ben. And I was just speaking about it on a Twitter space. We went 2-0 up within 10 minutes. And you know what? That free kick was sublime, and he'll be remembered for that. But I don't know if you'll remember, or people that are watching will remember, the second goal, the 1-2 he made with Paul Allen, where he did a 1-2, and then I think Michael Thomas is still trying to find Paul Gascoigne, because he spun Paul Gascoigne, and he was looking, and the flick to Paul Allen to cross to Lineker. I think it's one of the most devastating 10 minutes of football I've ever seen, where a man single-handedly, who's just come back from a hernia, has destroyed the team. And then obviously we all remember him going over to the Spurs fans, jumping for joy, going like that. And the famous line, I'm now away to get Mesut measured. Yes!
Yes!
And then obviously the final. Ben, what do you recall? Again, this is I'll speak after you because I've been speaking for a while, as I do when it comes to Gazza. What's your, when you look back at that 1991 FA Cup final? It would have been through video or even DVD later. What do you make of what happened with him and what he was like in that game?
I probably turned to my dad and thought, are we supporting the same football team? Have they just disappeared? Because now, but it's the last great moment to happen in the history of this football club, I think. You could talk about some of the things that have happened in modern history. The only thing that comes halfway close is the Carling Cup final. We've not done anything like that since, in a major trophy. So again, it's an echo to me, being a 27-year-old. It's an echo watching our team. Even when we were in the dumps, we had proper footballers. Gazza, Mabbott, Stewart, Lineker. We had proper players that were winners. We haven't had that many winners in the football team for years and for years. I mean, it's just a brilliant game of football. And beating Brian Clough as well. It's not like we beat a minnow. We beat Nottingham Forest, one of the biggest teams in the world, with Brian Clough as the manager. You can't say any more than that. We beat them in a final, and we haven't done anything since. We've done nothing since. But it's a beautiful moment. Yeah, we can. Gazza went off. I believe Gazza went off. Gazza went off injured, but the team saw us through. The team saw us through.
Not only injured, mate. Bob Spur and I. People will know Bob Spur and I talk about the 91 FA Cup final. We talk about Gazza a hell of a lot. And you know what? Roger Milford even says, the biggest regret I have is not sending Gazza off with the first challenge.
Yeah.
Because it was a god-awful challenge on Gary Parker. Gazza didn't seem right from kickoff.
Yeah.
But when I say he did a what can only be described as a karate kick, bang, there, like literally his
Yeah.
foot was here. And it was the most reckless, even back then, red card immediately. But I think it was the Paul Gascoigne tax
Yeah.
that saved him from, I think, even getting a booking.
Yeah.
But then a few minutes later, he made another reckless challenge, which did more damage than Gary Mabbott.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, than it did to Gary Charles. Sorry,
It
and
did to
literally,
himself.
yeah, he did his ACL. His FA Cup was, and obviously he was going to be off to Lazio for a lot more money than he was. But that tackle is probably what has a huge part in his life going forward. I wish he had been sent off. Now we know the result. All right, we might have been down to 10 men. It might have been different. But there was something clearly wrong with him. But the greatest thing about it, and I remember seeing Paul Stewart holding it, as soon as they lifted the FA Cup, the first thing the team did is went to Gazza in hospital and showed him the FA Cup and gave it to him. Single-handedly got us there. And you know what, Ben? We're going from this. We're even going back further now because I don't want to talk about his time in Spurs, but we are going to talk about a time at Spurs, which was the build-up to Italia 90.
Gazamania.
And at Italia 90, which I still find hard to believe. And I think it's a crime that this was his only World Cup.
Yeah.
I mean, 94, we didn't qualify. 98, Hoddle didn't pick him. Who would have thought after what this man did at Italia 90? And I'll tell you, obviously, I was already obsessed with him from Tottenham. I like people will know I don't care who we ever sign at this football club for the rest of my life. No one will come close to this man for me. I don't care if they stay for 10 years. I don't care if they break Harry Kane's record. I don't care. This man to me.
And that's all about football, isn't it? Your hero is your hero. No one will change that.
Exactly. And the World Cup, I mean, he made his debut against Albania as a sub, assisted Chris Waddle, and then scored a goal where he just ran through the Albanian defence. Not that Albania was a football force, but at 22 years old. And then he played a game against Czech Republic where he assisted Steve Ball for 2 goals, scored a goal in a 4-2 win. And people will famously remember, you see Bobby Robson going, that is fantastic. Yeah. And that's what got him there. And the impact this man had at the World Cup. Against Ireland, we struggled 1-1. A game famously renowned for Gary Lineker having a dump. Holland, the mighty Dutch, and we're talking the Van Basten, the Hullets, the Rijkaard, the Koemans.
Bergkamp.
But too soon for Bergkamp. Not Italia 90. It's Euro 96 is where he came.
My Italian football knowledge.
But he destroyed,
guys.
He destroyed the Dutch and even did the Johan Cruyff turn to the Dutch. Then he did the same against Egypt, Cameroon, out of this world, and then obviously Germany, that yellow card, the emotion, the tears. Gazza mania was born. I mean, again, Ben, I come to you. I mean, I cried with him. I literally cried my eyes out with him. But again, you must have seen. I lived through Italia 90. You must have.
I've seen
videos or
there's a TV show on the BBC every week where they show clips of football, like the greatest moments of football. I can't remember what it's called. It might even be on another channel, but it's on terrestrial TV. It's one of the top. And they show that a lot, they get celebrities to talk about certain football moments and what they remember. And every single one of them is just still there. They cried at that moment. I think the entire country cried at that moment. Because like Tottenham at that moment, Gazza was the team because it was Gazza playing the other team half the time because we had quality players. Lineker, we had Waddles. I can't remember the defenders at that point. Stuart Pearce. Was it Stuart Pearce?
We had Dean Austin, the late great Justin Edinburgh, Gary Mabbott, Steve Sedgley.
Yeah.
We had
a decent enough team, But you put Gazza in that team, and it was suddenly world beaters because Gazza was he was a special talent. And when the moment he was off, where he was not getting in that game, that was it. We weren't winning without Gazza. And that was the sort of is the player that brings everyone up. It's the Harry Kane of now of the Tottenham team, where the team is crap, but Harry Kane is so good, it just drags them all forward.
I mean, you look at it, I think the biggest regret for me at the time is when we bought Lineker. I thought that's it. Lineker, Gazza, Waddle. That's it. That's we're going to challenge for that. I honestly thought, and then obviously after we signed Lineker, we sold Waddle to Marseille, so they never got the three together in a Spurs shirt, which I still think. Really. I mean, the three of them would have been insane. But we've got a couple more subject, or one subject. Then I'm just going to bring a link up for people to watch. So that Gazza.
Oh, next one.
There it is. Gazza, in my eyes, words and heart. Now I'm going to go second on this because
you have a lot more to say than me.
Yeah, I mean, again, people in the comments, I'd love to know your answer to this question.
Favorite Gazza stories.
Yeah, like what would you say are your moments or thoughts of him?
If he played today, he would be without doubt the best footballer in the world. He was on Messi's level for those days. It was a lot more difficult to play then. It wasn't as difficult as it was playing in the 60s and the 70s. But you could still tackle properly. That you could take people out. If Gazza played on today's pitches, he would be up there. The only player you can really compare Gazza to is Wayne Rooney. And both of them are in that street striker class of they're the last breed of that player that came from the streets of a working class town and would just world beat people. Like they were cut from the same cloth. It's the only player you can really compare him to. But he was a phenomenon for Tottenham. Like he took Tottenham to a final on his own. He was the only good thing about Tottenham during an era of darkness with Ivan Scholar running the club with his Ponzi schemes that he was running. He was the heart and soul of the football club. So it's an echo, and it's very possible without a Gazza in that thing, without us winning the 91 FA Cup, what would have happened? Would we have been bought? Would we have gone bankrupt without that? Without having that notoriety of being the FA Cup winners, with having Gazza and Lineker and players like that? It might not. There might not be a Tottenham. We might be supporting another team, or not me, but you'd be still. I don't know who you'd be supporting. I might not even be supporting Tottenham if it didn't exist in 1995 when I was born. I might be supporting, I don't know, Leyton Orient, as much as I love Leyton Orient. But he dragged the club up. He dragged them along on his own for so long. So to see this man now and the way he was treated by our beloved media, that's sarcasm, by the way, it's an utter disgrace. The man was he was a gem for the entire country. Gazza mania in that Italian, he was the hopes and dreams of an entire country, and we sabotaged him. So it's ridiculous. So wherever he is, he's going to be remembered by us fondly for what he's done, and the people that have made his life hell, shame on them. Yeah,
I mean, I completely agree. I am going to touch on that part of it, obviously, because Gazza and I may love Gazza the footballer, I may love Gazza the man, but there is something else that ties me and him very, very deeply together. All I can say, I mean, before I start talking about me, it says something when Alex Ferguson is repeatedly asked, "What's your biggest regret in football?" and he says, "Not managing Paul Gascoigne."
Yeah,
that, I mean, I don't think you need a more ringing endorsement.
Like Fergie with Gascoigne would not have been fair. That would not have been fair.
Well, do you know what, Ben? You look at it, and I agree, but do you know what? I also think if Fergie had him,
stop him doing those things.
Yeah, because there's first of all, this man to me, my dad took me to my first game in 1988, which was his first season. So I was only, 9 years old? Yeah, 9 years old. And obviously, when you go to a night game at Tottenham and you're a 9-year-old kid, everything just looks incredible to you. Everything is. And when you see Gazza, you just can't help it. But I remember for that Christmas, or it was a couple of years later, but for Christmas/Hanukkah, my parents got me a Paul Gascoigne t-shirt, the Paul Gascoigne Fog on the Tyne CD, and also he bought out a video which is called Gazza the Real Me. And I'm going to put it there and then go back to it. It's called Gazza the Real Me. It's actually available on YouTube, the whole documentary. And it's a video about his rise from a little kid, showing his best moments. And you just get to hear some wonderful stories and see Gazza outside of football with his family. I can't recommend it strongly enough. I'll put it again, Gazza the Real Me, a wonderful documentary. But getting back to him, there are very few people that you would say are worth the entry fee alone.
Yeah.
You're very, very lucky. Like we can say Harry Kane today, like when he's on his pomp, like the game I saw last season at Manchester City. There are very few players back then that what we're missing at Tottenham right now is, if you're looking at the game, there isn't that one player like a Ginola, a Van der Vaart, a Gascoigne, who when they got on the ball, you remember when you see it, like the expectation that was about to happen, the edge of your seat. This man, whenever he got a hold of a football, people knew that magic could be any second. Magic is going to happen. It could be a free kick, it could be a tackle, it could be a pass, it could be a run, it could be a head, just anything. And his character shone through. This man is, for me, when we signed him, we bought him at then £2 million, which was then a British club record for a youngster. And £2 million back then, and Gazza was going back with Man United, and we got his dad a car, house, his sister a sunbed, and that's how we signed. This man, like you said, Ben, if it had not been for the FA Cup run in 1990-91, there may not have been a Tottenham Hotspur. This man is just, we know what he did for England in the World Cup, Euro 96, that goal of Scotland, but we're not, the things that this man did. And you know what, even the other thing that bonds me very close, actually, before I go, that he's also had some really tragic stories with his friend dying as a young kid. He's had some tragic stories, but the thing that bonds me very, very close with him, and like I said with you, like you said with the media, is obviously my battle against addiction is very, very well known, but I haven't had to do it in the media. I haven't had to do it with everyone watching me. And obviously Gazza has had an on-off battle with alcohol, painkillers, other things. And not only the British press, but what really annoys me is, if people see that video, again, it's on YouTube, and I hate it when I see it. There's a video of him in a pub in Newcastle, off his face, talking to someone about playing pool with the Pope in the White House. The White House are phoning him up, how he did. And it's like, he's in a pub and people are giving him alcohol.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if I owned a pub, which obviously for obvious reasons I wouldn't, Paul Gascoigne or an alcoholic walks into my pub and says, give me a pint. I'm like, piss off. I respect, you know what I mean? It's like, if I walk into the Scotland Yard back home and I said, right, can I have a pint of whatever or a shot of vodka? They turn around at me and go, yeah, good one, Bri. Not a chance. Not a chance. I can walk to another pub who don't know me, but I have a very, very deep
That's the difference between good customer service and knowing your people.
Exactly. And again, it's social media. Social media, thank God, that weren't around there back then. But getting back to the highlights with him, you just need to watch videos on him. And do you know what? I speak with Ryan, obviously someone very close to us, Ben. It was too early for Ryan as well. And there's a lot of people that haven't had the pleasure, the honour, the blessing, the privilege of seeing him live. And even when we opened up the new stadium against Inter Milan,
I've seen Gascoigne play once.
And was that against Inter Milan at the opening of the stadium?
And that was a pleasure.
Well, I'll tell you what, you saw you were there. Let's talk about that very quickly. You were there. I mean, I've only watched the highlights. I didn't go to that game. I was back in Canada. You must have felt and
I
see
go.
the other, like literally. I see the bit where he's walking up the touchline.
What was particularly beautiful about that moment is Gary Mabbott was like, he gave him a hug before and said, like, there you go, Gazza. And it just like, everyone forgot about that Javier Zanetti played in that game as well, but everyone completely forgot he was there. Jurgen Klinsmann played. These are bona fide legends of the game.
Yep.
Everyone forgot they existed. And it was just Gazzamania again. It was just everyone was there to see Gazza. It was absolutely
I still think when I watched that video, I mean, you're no more, you were at the game. That was probably the loudest roar of the whole day.
Yeah.
Paul Gascoigne not only warming up, but then coming on. I mean, that man, it's like, I still say, Ben, I'll ask you this question because for me, everyone knows my answer is Paul Gascoigne. If you could have any player, this is in your lifetime.
Yeah.
Any player in your lifetime right now in this squad, who'd you pick?
Luka Modric.
That's who. So, do you reckon you would stay with that name for the best part? How long would you say would say that for? Since he left?
It's only recently when when you think about your life and your footballing life as someone who's watched a club, you realise when you watch him at Tottenham playing amongst some crap players and some great players like Van der Vaarts and Crouchies and Lennons at the time. When you watch him play in the greatest team in the world, and not only playing in the greatest team in the world, running the greatest team in the world, winning 5 Champions League titles under one of the greatest managers of all time in Carlo Ancelotti and also Zinedine Zidane. You see, my God, we should have been watching this man at the time. Like Gazza was a different thing because he was not only brilliant at Tottenham, but he was brilliant everywhere else. Modric was that sort of that. We knew he was that how good he was at the time. He was world class at that time. Now we get to look at him in his late 30s and you think, did that guy play for Tottenham? It was almost like, it's almost like that guy played for Tottenham and he made his craft at Tottenham. It's unbelievable, really, especially with 5 Champions League titles, multiple league title wins, Copa del Rey's. Yeah, it's got to be Luka Modric. I loved Bale. Bale was my hero growing up. When I was going to school in secondary school in year 8, year 9, being 12, 13, Gareth Bale was come on the scene and he was going up the other end of the San Siro, beating Maicon and sticking a hat-trick in the greatest stadium in the world. But Luka Modric was the heartbeat of that team. He was class.
This is the thing for me, and I think I will say it to the day I die. Every single time I'm asked that question, I always say Paul Gascoigne. Yeah. Even because you look at it, especially right now, where we're lacking creativity, we're lacking passion, we're lacking hunger, we're lacking desire, we're lacking. There's not a box this man doesn't tick.
He had everything. He was like, if he played now, he would be on Messi and Ronaldo's level. He was that aura, but he was a maverick as well. Whereas that Messi's not so much a maverick, but he's a maverick in the brain and how great he is as a footballer. Like Gascoigne was an utter genius. Like he could play in if he played that, he'd play in every team in the world. Walk into it, he'd be asleep and still walk into the team. He was just that good.
Yep. And you know what? Like I said, I just wish, like I've said, it is my dream to get him on this channel.
Yeah,
it is my absolute dream to get him on the channel. I will say, do you know what? What I would love is just for him to see this video. It's never going to happen, but if anyone out there that watches this can make it happen, please do, because here we are 32 years away from one of the most iconic moments in our history. 32 years away from seeing one of the greatest players to ever wear the shirt. And for me, the greatest player to ever wear the shirt, even though people say Hoddle, for me.
Some people say Greavesy. It's whatever era you grew up. Like, so
Yeah.
Graham, who we know very well, will always say Glenn Hoddle.
Yep. And for me, there's only
Also,
one.
He would say either Jimmy Greaves or Glenn Hoddle. It's one of those two because
Yep.
he grew up in that era. But we didn't have that because I grew up in the era of mediocrity where we don't win anything. We got Anthony Gardner and
I can't believe we've got Anthony Gardner's name into a Paul Gascoigne. Of all the names we could have had, Anthony Gardner has made it. But do you know what?
It's insane what you guys had in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even up to the 90s, what you guys had. And then suddenly it just went boom, like the quality. Like we had a Gareth Bale, we had a Luka Modric, we had a Van der Vaart, but they never won anything because they were never allowed to win anything. They never had the unit around it for them to have done it, which is an incredible shame.
Correct. And listen, we're going to end it there. And you know what? I'm not even going to, because this is my hero and because this is all about this man, and this man was prior to a certain man.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to do this today. I'm not. This is my honor, love, and respect for that man. All I'm going to say is thank you, Paul Gascoigne. I want to hear everyone. Oh, before we go, actually, I'm going to end that another way. Ben, tell us about the coffee house and what you're doing tomorrow.
Right. So tomorrow is an event we're doing with Fairview Homes, but it's an important thing for me. I'm going to be doing a lot of things, but next weekend is London Coffee Festival on the Sunday, which is an incredible moment for me. I will be, for the first time, I will be on the main stand of London Coffee Festival with the biggest manufacturer, La Marzocco, for an hour and a half on True Artisan Cafe. So if you're in the Shoreditch area, please get down there. We're going to have a special drink that I have concocted in my head, and I actually need to bloody make it. But that's something I've got to do next week. But please support the coffee company. It will really help us out a lot. This is a dream of mine to work with La Marzocco. Yes, it's only for an hour and a half, but it's an hour and a half I will cherish for the rest of my life because I'm working with the biggest on the biggest stage. And it's not me working for another company. It's not another company that's saying, oh, Ben, can you make coffee? It's me. The coffee company is on the website and people will be able to find where we are. So if you're interested in the London Coffee Festival, come down. Tickets are still available at the door or online. And yeah, let's make some coffee and it's going to be great. We've got a YouTube channel.
Well, there you go. And all I will say, like I said, wish you all the best in that, Ben. Thank you for being with me. Like I said, leave your comments and your favourite Gazza stories or moments or what you thought of the stream in the YouTube comments. We are going to make sure we get back to them. There's a lot more coming from Tottenham on Tour. A lot more. And more will be revealed later. You'll see me and Ben together on Sunday for the Sunday the weekly Sunday review and the return. Ben, get your paper ready of the Tottenham Chronicle. It will be back. So like, comment, subscribe, and as always, there is only one Paul Gascoigne.
Big up.